So maybe you can tell me your name and where you live.
My name is Ralphi Jhirad. I live in Mumbai. I was born in Mumbai and also educated in Mumbai.
And what do you do here?
I basically do what is called as a software development and travel activities in the Jewish world.
And your what's kind of your relation to the Jewish community here?
I've been a past president of the synagogue here in Bombay, and I have been the delegate of the World Zionist Organization for last 2-3 conferences, and of course active in the community on many fronts, helping the people to from education to employment to training, and of course in the process of Aliyah I have assisted several families.
So maybe you can say a little bit brief kind of just about the community here, the Indian Jewish community.
There are 3 components to the Indian Jewish community. One which is the Ben Israel community, second is the Baghdadi, and third is the Kochini, and I call them as the BBC Jews of India. The Ben Israel, the Baghdadis and the Kochinis. The Ben Israels arrived 175 BC, and they arrived in a part of India which is near Bombay called Nagaon. They arrived to this part from the northern part of the then Canaan, the Galil part, and they basically have come by ship in those times, which was the main mode of transport. They wanted to go to the port of Ophir, but they could not go up to that point due to the storm and the challenge in the high seas. So they decided to go to the nearest mainland, which was Nagaon, and there, while reaching that spot, the shipwreck took place and several people died. A few survived, and those who survived, they basically have survived in frozen condition. Some of them were going to be burned by the local fishermen, and hence the bodies were brought near the fire. But while the bodies were brought, the heat of that fire made those bodies get sort of alive.
Wow.
And hence they told the local community that do not burn our dead, but please bury them, as that is the custom, and hence they were not burned but they were buried.
Wow. So, Ralphi, you've been to Israel, and I guess, what do you feel, why do you still live in Mumbai? Rather than making the Aliyah to Israel?
I make Aliyah every year and I come back to my community. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, almost a month or 2 I spend in Israel. That's my Aliyah. And I come back and I serve my community and also serve the Jews who come to India and help them to learn heritage like I'm helping you now. That's the way I look at it.
And you're a practicing Jew, right? You go to the synagogue.
Yes.
What does being Jewish mean to you? And especially, what does Indian Jewish mean to you?
First of all, the Jewish living is in every small thing that you do, including washing hands before the meal and doing the barakot. Every time there is something that is to be done with barakah. It's to remember Hashem and to pray for the good things that we have in life and to follow the halakha and to do the mitzvot. But most important thing is being Jewish is being good human, being loyal to the nation that you live in, being also committed to Zionism and also to the state of Israel in every possible way. I believe that Judaism is multifaceted, so each one can express it the way it suits him and the way he perceives Judaism in his heart and soul. Like you see now, I am very happy to help in whatever way I can to enhance your visit and your purpose of coming to India, that is one way of Judaism, is to help another fellow Jew from another part of the world and be connected to the rest of the world. People will view what we are saying about our community. People will learn about it. They may get interested and they may travel again to this country, this community, and come to discover beautiful traditions of Jews in India. So that's all what I consider important. सगळे मी अजून थोडा बायकायला आहे म्हणजे मला अजून पाऊण तास लागेल पाऊण तास नाही अर्धा तास पण लागेल आता मी तुम्हाला सांगतो 11:45
And it's obvious that Jews have the enormous part here, kind of compared to their numbers. They have done amazing, but India has been one of the few countries where Jews did not feel persecuted.
Absolutely, and they have been most respected.
It's a country that has given to Jews that lived here a lot as well, and I guess to Israel, because the Indians that moved to Israel, there were big numbers and they were able to contribute to Israel a lot as well.
Right, yes, many of them have fought most of the wars in Israel. They have participated actively in the military service, in the field of education, in the field of agriculture. The first Israeli nation produced a rose, cultivated a rose, which was done by Bezalel Eliyahu, who was from Cochin. He got an award from Israeli government as well as from the government of India.
And then one of the
there
Sir
are
Albert
some inventions,
Sassoon, right?
Yeah, some inventions in Israel, including this milking of the cow. The machinery developed for that is done by one of the Indian person as a part of the group that developed that machinery. And then also the chiku, the fruit chiku, was cultivated by a Jew in Israel from Indian origin. So there is a lot of contribution. In fact, one of the vehicle which is used for the handicapped people was also built and designed by an Indian Jew.
And of course, there's a large history of Jews in India, such as like the General in Delhi. And
we are entering now the house, former residence of David Sassoon. The building in the front, which is now become the Massin Hospital, was a place of residence for the Sassoon family in summer. And this is where he used to have an annual ball where even the Queen was on the guest list.
The Queen of England?
Yes, and most of the British, don't photograph now, close.
Okay. Were there other very famous families? I mean, everybody knows of the Sassoon family, but other kind of distinguished families of Indian origin.
Kaduris, who school we visited. They built that school 150 years ago. And it was originally a school called the Israelite School, but because of the contribution, the new building was constructed, and that was named after the Kaduri family. My father studied there, and several members of the community studied there.
So, I believe it was 2008 or 2010, the attack on the Chabad and the Taj Hotel.
It was a very larger agenda for the terrorists to attack the Israelis living in Bombay and also the foreigners visiting in India in the hotels like Taj and Oberoi. And the attack has generated awareness about the world terrorism in India, and the security has also been beefed up in all the hotels and all the different institutions and public places. Here on the right is a clock tower which was built by the Sassoon. He was very fond of the British, and one quality of the British, which is the clock tower, that is the clock tower, that is of punctuality, he was very fond of that, and that's why this clock tower was established by him. See the building on the right side was also built by the Sassoon, and it's now the museum called Jhirad Museum. Inside this museum there is a statue of the Prince of Wales on a black horse that is gifted by the David Sassoon. It was installed in the city near the Kalagoda synagogue, the Knesset synagogue. But after the British left India, that has been brought out and just kept on the side. This is the textile mill called the United Mills, owned by the Sassoons at one time. They had been owning almost all the textile mills in Bombay. 93% of the textile was made by them in the Sassoon mills. 7% was made by the Tatas, but the Tatas could not sell it to the British. They had to give it to, sell their goods to Sassoons, who in turn sold it to the British.
Why were the Tatas not able to sell it to the British?
Because they were not given the license to do the trading with the British. Sassoons had the license.
Well, how were the Sassoons able to have that license?
They were very close to the British Empire. It's how the economy works. If you are in good books of the rulers of the country where you do business, you get special privileges and licenses, and that's what the Sassoons did. So it was almost a monopoly. हा ब्रिज झाला की तुला उतरायचं आहे की पुढच्या ब्रिजला आणखी माझी शालूम सांग चल चल का नाही चल गाडी पार्किंग आहे
It's amazing how much Mumbai has changed in just